protofeudalism as a concept in medieval history, most especially the history of Spain, according to which the direct precursors of feudalism can be found at the height of the Dark Ages. Spanish historiography relies heavily on the concept and projects it onto the late Visigothic Kingdom, but its usage is generally deprecated in the English-language historiography of Spain. The current tendency in English scholarship to downplay feudalism and reduce the usage of related terminology, especially its application to the early Middle Ages, is in direct conflict with recent trends in Spanish historiography to push the start of feudalism back into the Visigothic period, sometimes seen as part of a tendency to Europeanize Spanish history. Interest was renewed in the history of a united Visigothic Spain during the dictatorship of Francisco Franco in the mid-20th century. The perennial need to explain the rapid downfall of the Visigothic Kingdom in the face of Arab invasions led some scholars to postulate the increased privatization of public authority in the hands of regional, landed nobility, twin tendencies, called protofeudalism, and particularism. Typically, the protofeudal phenomenon is dated to the late 7th century, but sometimes earlier. In 1967, the Spanish historian Claudio Sánchez Albornoz traced the protofeudalization of the Visigothic army at least to the legislation of Urwi and Wamba. A description in English of the general phenomenon is given by Payne in his General History of Iberia in 2 volumes. Decentralization was unavoidable, and power became a matter of personal relationship. An example: the chief lieutenants of the crown were rewarded for the services by salaries as stipendia in the form of overlordship of land, a temporary assignment of income from land held in precarium, that is, on a nominally revocable basis. This system was actually first used by the Church to support local establishments, and by the 7th century was widely employed by the crown and also by the magnates to pay their chief supporters and military retainers. The process of protofeudalization inevitably carried with it a splintering of juridical and economic sovereignty that further weakened political unity. French historian Céline Martin has disputed the reality of protofeudalism by pointing to the public nature of oaths of fidelity in the late Visigothic Kingdom, where oaths were generally sworn by populations and not by individual men to individual lords. Roger Collins has criticized the concept as little more than an attempt by Spanish academics to integrate Spanish history into that of Europe in general. Collins cites L. Garcia Moreno as proclaiming international unanimity and applying the adjective proto-feudal to the socio-political formation incarnated by the Kingdom of Toledo at the beginning of the 8th century. Collins, however, thinks not. Michael Kulokowski cites the discovery of mid-7th century treants at El Bovilar as evidence for commercial activity in central Spain, refuting the prevailing notion of autarky and proto-feudal serfdom.